The Toronto Raptors are currently the favorites to trade for Ja Morant this offseason. We know Masai Ujiri's been on that quest to improve the roster, to land some star players, and improve this team. And the Raptors do have a plausible path in making a realistic offer to the Memphis Grizzlies to acquire Ja Morant. But given all of the reports and the insights and the stuff coming out regarding the Raptors' pursuit of Giannis, Kevin Durant, and all these other big names across the NBA, the reports coming out about Masai Ujiri's quest to land a big fish in this offseason, Ja Morant is the next name that apparently is on Masai's list to figure out a deal to make happen, because the Toronto Raptors are currently favorites to land Ja Morant in a trade. So we're going to break down what these reports are saying, what's going on with the Memphis Grizzlies, and how the Toronto Raptors are sneaking their way into another star players trade negotiation. So lots of stuff to break down in this video, folks. We are dropping, there's so much content coming out regarding the Toronto Raptors, so if you're part of the over 48% of our viewers that haven't hit the subscribe button just yet, make sure you guys hit that sub button, because we're delivering daily, twice a day, 3 times a day content on the Toronto Raptors to make sure you stay up to date on everything that's going on with this team. So let's jump into it. Let's bring up the report here first, because we may as well break it down. The Toronto Raptors have a plus 400 odds, are the favorites to land Ja Morant if he ends up moving on from the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, there has been a ton of buzz. If you check out Grizzlies Digest, a new channel launched at Digest Media that we're kicking off there, but Ja Morant has been linked in a bunch of trade rumors. Now, he is a guy that is integral to the heart of Memphis, and there is a lot of pushback in terms of what a deal could look like. But right now, in terms of what the odds are saying and the predictions, the Raptors are favorites to land Ja Morant if he ends up moving on from the Memphis Grizzlies. And Brian Windhorst essentially added some fuel to the fire in terms of stuff that's going on, saying the next question is, what about Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.? Because yesterday, essentially, news came out that, this isn't the news, but basically that, let's see, we got the wrong reports here pulled up, but the Memphis Grizzlies, we covered it on the channel, trade away Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic in return for 4 first-round picks, 1 pick swap, Cole Anthony, as well as Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Now, that is very much a move that you look at the Western Conference, you look at the landscape of what's going on, you see the Memphis Grizzlies being very much in the middle of the pack, being an 8th seed, and teams like the Houston Rockets, K-Bear, teams, well, I guess they're the 2nd seed, but having a team blossoming out there on the scene. You have the Mavericks with Cooper Flagg coming in now in the mix after their debacle of last season. You have the Spurs with Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, and whatever the heck they end up doing in this offseason. The Western Conference is getting all the more competitive by the day, and the Memphis Grizzlies didn't really have an opportunity without completely ruining their luxury tax bill in terms of making an actual deal happen. So, as Brian Windhorst put it, all eyes and the questions are on what's going to happen with Ja Morant, because that Desmond Bane trade looked like a teardown trade. It looked like a move that indicated that they are going to be moving in a different direction, try to take the route of the Oklahoma City Thunder and restock on assets and try to build up for the future. And the Memphis Grizzlies are a team that have been phenomenal in terms of finding hidden talent, uncovering hidden gems out there in the NBA draft and late free agency. So they look at their ability to hold on to some draft picks and say, hey, we can build for the future here. So all eyes are on whether or not Ja Morant is going to end up getting dealt or end up getting traded. So the Raptors, of course, as I broke down at the beginning, they're in the hunt for a big fish. They're trying to make some moves happen, and I've been outspoken on the channel about all the news and updates that have been coming out on this team, but Ja Morant is a very interesting player because you look at his stats last season. 23 points per game, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. Not a great three-point shooter, 31% of the three-point line, only 31% of corner threes. Only 25 years old, but he has had a tumultuous last couple of seasons for the Memphis Grizzlies. Of course, dealing with injuries, dealing with suspensions, and really regressing from the guy in his 3rd season where he looked like he could be the face of the NBA just 2 or 3 seasons ago, when he was just 23 years old. He was explosive, finishing at the rim. He was really effective just as a facilitator, improving as a shooter and stuff. But right now, he's certainly, I don't want to say regressed, but hasn't lived up to that face of the NBA status. And it's gotten to the point where he's become underrated across the NBA. I think that's the reality of what's going on. He is still a phenomenal slasher, still a phenomenal scorer, and a guy that can really just have an impact on a team, if he's healthy, if everything is going right in the situation. And Memphis, they've had some weird sort of rosters and stuff that might not have been the ideal sort of situation, a young team for Ja Morant to really develop and blossom into the player that he's shown flashes of being at times for this Grizzlies team. So And coming into an organization like Toronto that has had a really effective, and the Grizzlies are pretty good at player development, so don't get me wrong there, but a bit more of a stable organization in the Toronto Raptors with a guy like Masai Ujiri at the head of it, and Darko Rajaković, who's done a really good job at getting the most out of these young guys. It could make some sense for this team to go after and make a move, because we know Masai Ujiri's on his mission to really, cook up and try to get one of these deals to go down. But if we look at, everything in terms of this Ja situation and how things would shake up, of course, Immanuel Quickley would be going out in one of these deals. And in order to make the money work, you probably have to add in maybe Jakob Poeltl or something. You have to add in some stuff to make the money work. Could be RJ Barrett and Immanuel Quickley going out for Ja Morant, and then you include some draft capital going forward in the future. And then you have the lineup of a guy, essentially, Ja Morant, Gradey Dick, Scottie Barnes, Brandon Ingram, and then you try to keep Jakob Poeltl out there in that mix. I assume you end up dealing away the number 9 overall selection this year, and that's the type of package that you look at in some of the bench pieces. And you say, hey, if you do this move, then you have to expect that Ja, Scottie, Ingram, Poeltl, and Gradey Dick, and then whatever shooting guards and stuff, wings we have left out there on the team. Of course, I'm always going to bring him up, but Jamal Shead off the bench for this team, you have to assume that that's going to be a team that can compete out there in the Eastern Conference. And with how wide open things are, I think there's a realistic argument to say, hey, this team could be very, very good for this squad. Now, again, you do have to factor in, you are dealing away IQ, you are dealing away some pieces, but Ja Morant this would be a pure high-risk, high-reward play for Masai Ujiri. And the thing is that the reason not enough people are talking about why Masai Ujiri is trying to make one of these big swings, try to land one of these big fish in a trade in one of these scenarios, is because Masai Ujiri is on the last year of his contract. And for all the positive things he said about the new ownership group, Edward Rogers did not want him back in 2021, at his current price point, because that was at peak Masai Ujiri value. That guy was winning a championship for a Raptors team that never had expectations of winning a championship before Masai Ujiri came to the squad. So he is probably in a situation where he's like, okay, we got to speed up this rebuild a little bit because I'm on the last year of my contract, and in order to get re-upped, to get at that price, I have to turn this team into something that's a competitor. So Masai Ujiri making this deal for Ja Morant, I wouldn't call it a desperation move, but it is definitely a risk. It is definitely a move that you look at and you say, okay, this is something that it could be boom or bust, because Ja, for as good as he's been, he's dealt with some injuries, he's dealt with some off-the-court stuff, and then you are locked into a long-term contract with Ja Morant if you end up making that move happen. That's just kind of the reality of what you end up doing in making one of these trades. And giving up RJ, giving up IQ, giving up on that kind of backcourt of the future. I know a lot of people aren't high on IQ, but he dealt with some injuries. He had a very weird last season last year. And locking this money, this is the kind of core group you are moving forward with for this Raptors team. So it would definitely be interesting. Like it without a doubt improves the upside of the Toronto Raptors acquiring a Ja Morant, but it definitely ups the risk because the injuries, the off-the-court stuff, and then the fit around Scottie Barnes, because you don't have a ton of shooting out here on this Raptors team, and then Ja is not a three-point shooter, so you have Ja, you have Jakob Poeltl, and you have Scottie Barnes out there in your starting lineup. Heck, even Brandon Ingram is more of a mid-range scorer than a pure floor spacer, so again, Gradey Dick would, I imagine, be in the starting lineup at that point. Then things get a little bit different, but you don't have a ton of shooting on this team, so the fit could be extremely awkward in terms of Ja Morant coming in, so we'd have to see how it shakes out, but we'll keep you updated on all the latest on this whole Ja Morant situation, so make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I'm signing out.